Well, we continue to look at whether citizens are complying with lockdown regulations on the road. Gauteng police are inspecting vehicles engaged in long-distance travel. Buses and taxis are only allowed to carry 70% capacity for long-distance travel under lockdown level 4, where leisure travel in and out of Gauteng is prohibited at the moment. So are those travelling for business actually adhering to the rules? And are taxi drivers enforcing all COVID-19 protocols? Well, our reporter Nkosazana Dambuza is tracking this one for us. She's at the Wanderers taxi rank in Johannebsurg. Let's find out what she's been able to gauge so far today. Nkosa, good afternoon. And yes, what is happening when it comes to people who are traveling in taxis? One would imagine, because you cannot travel for leisure, that no one is actually taking a taxi to get to another province on holiday. So how are they operating, and how are they making sure that those who are in those vehicles are complying?
Well, Yuveka, alert level 4 restrictions stipulate that buses and taxis travelling long distance may not load more than 70% capacity of passengers, and that masks have to be worn by all occupants at all times. And taxi drivers and taxi owners are expected to actually enforce these regulations and make sure that everybody who's boarding their taxis is wearing those masks. But let's have a look at whether people are complying to these regulations. Commuters here and some of these taxis are actually preparing to travel long distance. This taxi here on my left is actually going to Limpopo. So let's just have a check, Rikudeka, of whether people are wearing masks. I see that many of them are. They're hiding their faces now that they see the camera. But I can confirm that they are definitely complying to the 70% capacity rule, and that masks are actually worn by everybody inside the taxi. And also there's a marshal here that you're seeing. He's actually taking down the names and contact details of passengers going into the taxis, and this register is for COVID-19 contact tracing purposes. And interestingly, Yuveka, marshals actually just earlier today told me that they believe government should actually be prioritizing taxi owners when it comes to the COVID-19 vaccine rollout, seeing that they are exposed to the virus every day while commuting people around. I thought this was rather an interesting point to raise, and I'm joined now by actually the rank manager of Wanderers Taxi Rank. Thank you so much, Shepherd Moyo, for your time. You made an interesting statement there. You said you believe that taxi owners and taxi drivers should be prioritized when it comes to the vaccine rollout?
Yeah, the taxi drivers and the taxi owners, they must be prioritized on this vaccination. The problem is that the government doesn't give now the sanitizing, everything, the mask. And last time when the vaccine started, they did give people sanitizing and everything, but now they are not doing so. We don't know why, and the government is taking this thing slowly. This thing is dangerous. I think they must help the drivers, they must help the owners to be injected and vaccinated, because this Delta COVID is very, very, very dangerous. So we are pleasing to the government to help us as the taxi business people. We are the one who are the first people to provide to transport people in the morning, at night, in the afternoon, and each and every day we are transporting people, but you are late. The government is late to inject people. I think they must help the drivers, help the queue marshals, and the owners also to be vaccinated.
And how are you making sure that all these taxis that are traveling long distance here do not carry more than 70% of passengers? How are you actually enforcing these regulations?
We have told the queue marshals that they must count the number. When people are getting into the taxi, we know that is 70%. We did do it last time, and we are doing it now in the second time for the COVID. We are forcing people to wear masks. We are trying to sanitize everyone who's getting into our taxis, to be sanitized and to be clean. And we are trying to check people who have got temperature, to check whether their temperature is too high or not in the taxi rank. That's what we are doing, trying to protect this pandemic.
And how have the travel restrictions affected, the amount of money that you make as taxi operators?
From the money, we are not getting anything. Even the government also is not taking care for us. Because if you are taking 70%, if you are checking of the petrol and the paying of the drivers, so there's a lot of things that we must pay, but the government is not giving the taxi people anything. They are just quiet on that thing. They said you must follow the rules. We are following the rules, but to them, we think they don't think for us. If they are thinking for us, they must give us something, because they have done to other people, to the restaurant people, to the shop people, they've given them the money, but to us, it's just quiet. I don't know what's going on the government. We have tried to talk with them. Minister of Transport, he doesn't care about us. So we are thinking, we are begging to the government to help us on this pandemic. We are trying to carry people, we are trying to force the law, we are trying to make everything impossible that we must follow the rules that the government says, but the government doesn't take care about us.
Well, thank you so much. There you have it, Juveka. And we also know that police are conducting 24/7 roadblocks on the borders of the Gauteng province, checking that taxis going in and out of the province are not fully loaded, that they're complying to the 70% capacity rule. And of course, if they're not, they definitely will be turned back.